The United Nations. With 192 member states worldwide, it has its work cut out. With a brief to preserve peace by force if necessary in a world rumbling with the sound of war, from the Arab-Israeli turmoil, the oil for food program in Iraq, and a dozen more conflicts, its job simply cannot be underestimated.
Ladies and gentlemen, this meeting is now adjourned. You've been called here today to discuss the current issue we are facing with political conflict imposed upon the UN. I will now pass over to Ms. MacDonald, who will brief us on this current issue.
We are currently facing a difficult and trying time in the UN with regards to the political situation. The active legislation is restricting us from being successful in all our missions. Having to go back and forth, negotiating with governments, with politicians, it's taking time and it's costing lives.
Ms. MacDonald, can you please be more specific?
Well, let's take the issue in the Congo, for example. There are a number of steps which need to be taken. We need to enforce a ceasefire between rebel groups. We need to begin a process of restructuring of the government, and we need to maintain that all citizens receive humanitarian aid. Now, I've drawn up a list of the political issues which are restricting us from taking these steps, and these are the lack of authority in the Congo, restrictions as a result of legislation against the UN, the provision of arms and other resources to rebel groups from external sources with ulterior agendas, and most importantly, the lack of cohesion between member states of the UN on the best course of action. These steps need to be taken.
So, you've all been briefed. Do any of you have any solutions?
Well, in order for us to set up a successful decision criteria, we need to define the relevant factors regarding our current issue. Based on the SWOT analysis carried out, a number of strengths and opportunities were identified which we could utilize to our advantage. One opportunity lies in the request for help from the Congo government. I think we therefore need to hold meetings with the Congolese President, Joseph Kabila, to form strategic plans involving the use of armed forces and negotiations to bring all rebel groups and their leaders to permanent ceasefire. You know that our greatest strength and asset is our size, and that we have the support of all the member states. We should use these resources to form a united front and take diplomatic steps to restore peace and order.
I have a different proposal. Rather than focusing on our strengths and opportunities, I believe it's more beneficial to consider our weaknesses and threats. In particular, the fact that so far we have failed to make a permanent difference in the country and have exhausted our resources. It is becoming evident that the rebel forces are growing in strength and inevitably have the propensity to expel the UN from the Congo. We need to come up with a long-term strategic plan with clear goals and objectives that include establishing the UN's position in the Congo. I propose that we start arming ourselves and ensure that we are ready for the worst scenario.
Thank you for attending this briefing and for your input. Based on Mr. van Brede's earlier proposal, it is clear that out of the 4 models of management in the competing values framework, the UN should continue to use the human resource model as its primary model, as well as realigning our approach to include characteristics from the rational model, such as delegating to the local authorities some diplomatic duties to strengthen our position in Congo. This issue will be taken to the Emergency General Assembly on the 3rd of December in New York. Thank you.